Hey Rayleigh, and anybody else watching, and welcome back to another message from your father. So we are looking at the bloodbath today, which is pretty applicable, given that you slipped and cut your lip earlier and there was blood everywhere and your dad was freaking out because he didn't know what to do. Turns out it was a small cut, and a couple later the bleeding stopped. The same cannot be said for the kings that are going up against the Israelites. Look at that segue. What we looked at yesterday was the Gibeonites deceiving the Israelites so that they wouldn't be slaughtered by them. We looked at the sun standing still so that the Israelites could conquer the rest of those that southern kings, I believe, that God was bringing judgment on. I think that was the southern kings. Today, we are also going to be looking at the defeated kings once again, and then the land that is still to be taken. So that puts us in Joshua 11, 12, and 13. So we will start with chapter 11. When Jabin, king of Hazor, heard this, he sent word to Jobab, king of Madon, to the kings of Shimron, and to Ashaph, and to the northern kings who were in the mountains, in the Arabah, south of Kinnereth, in the western foothills of Naoth Dor, to the west, to the Canaanites in the east and west, to the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites in the hill country, and to the Hivitites below Hermon in the region of Mizpah. They came out with all their troops and a large number of horses and chariots, a huge army, as numerous as the sand on the seashore. All these kings joined forces and made camp together at the waters of Merom to fight against Israel. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them, because by this time tomorrow I will hand all of them over to Israel, slain. You are to hamstring their horses and burn their chariots." So Joshua and his whole army came against them suddenly at the waters of Merom and attacked them. And the Lord gave them into the hand of Israel. They defeated them and pursued them all the way to Greater Sidon, to Misroth, Maim, and the valley of Mizpah on the east, until no survivors were left. Joshua did to them as the Lord had directed. He hamstrung their horses and burned their chariots. At that time, Joshua turned back and captured Hazor and put its king to the sword. Hazor had been the head of all these kingdoms. Everyone in it they put to the sword. They totally destroyed them, not sparing anything that breathed, and he burned up Hazor itself. Joshua took all these royal cities and their kings and put them to the sword. He totally destroyed them as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded. Yet Israel did not burn any of the cities built on their mounds except Hazor, which Joshua burned. The Israelites carried off for themselves all the plunder and livestock of these cities, but all the people they put to the sword until they'd completely destroyed them, not sparing anyone that breathed. As the Lord commanded his servant Moses, so Moses commanded Joshua, and Joshua did it. He left nothing undone of all that the Lord commanded Moses. So Joshua took this entire land, the hill country, all the Negev, the region of Goshen, the western foothills, the Arabah, and the mountains of Israel with their foothills, from Mount Halak, which rises above Seir, to Baal Gad in the valley of Lebanon below Mount Hermon. He captured all their kings and struck them down, putting them to death. Joshua waged war against all these kings for a long time. Except for the Hivitites living in Gibeon, not one city made a treaty of peace with the Israelites, who took them all in battle. For it was the Lord himself who hardened their hearts to wage war against Israel, so that he might destroy them totally, exterminating them without mercy, as the Lord had commanded Moses. At that time Joshua went and destroyed the Anakites from the hill country, from Hebron, Debir, and Anab, from all the hill country of Judah, and from the hill country of Israel. Joshua totally destroyed them in their towns. No Anakites were left in Israelite territory. Only in Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod did any survive. So Joshua took the entire land just as the Lord had directed Moses, and he gave it as an inheritance to Israel according to their tribal divisions. Then the land had rest from war. Chapter 12. These are the kings of the land whom the Israelites had defeated and whose territory they took over east of the Jordan, from the Arnon Gorge to Mount Hermon, including all the eastern side of the Arabah. Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon. He ruled from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, from the middle of the gorge to the Jabbok River, which is the border of the Ammonites. This included half of Gilead. He also ruled over eastern Arabah, from the Sea of Kinnereth to the Sea of the Arabah, the Salt Sea, to Beth Jeshimosh, and then southward, below the slopes of Pisgah. And the territory of Og, king of Bashan, one of the last of the Rephites, who reigned in Ashtoreth and Edrei. He ruled from Mount Hermon, Sakala, all of Bashan, to the border of the people of Geshur, and Makkah, and half of Gilead, to the border of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the Israelites conquered them. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave their land to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh to be their possession. These are the kings of the land Joshua and the Israelites conquered on the western side of the Jordan, from Baal-Gad in the valley of Lebanon to Mount Halak, which rises toward Seir. Their lands Joshua gave as an inheritance to the tribes of Israel, according to their tribal divisions: the hill country, the western foothills, the Arabah, the mountain slopes, the desert, and the Negev, the lands of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hittites, and Jebusites. The king of Jericho, 1. The king of Ai, near Bethel, 1. The king of Jerusalem, 1. The king of Hebron, 1. The king of Jarmuth, 1. The king of Lachish, 1. The king of Eglon, 1. The king of Gezer, 1. The king of Debir, 1. The king of Geder, 1. The king of Hormah, 1. The king of Arad, 1. The king of Libnah, 1. The king of Adullam, 1. The king of Makkedah, 1. The king of Bethel, 1. The king of Tapha, 1. The king of Hepher, 1. The king of Aphek, 1. The king of Lasharon, 1. The king of Madon, 1. The king of Hazor, 1. The king of Shimron Meron, 1. The king of Ashaph, 1. The king of Tanakh, 1. The king of Medigo, 1. The king of Kadesh, 1. The king of Jokneam in Carmel, 1. The king of Dor in Naphoth Dor, 1. The king of Goyim in Gilgal, 1. The king of Tirzah, 1. 31 kings in all. Chapter 13. When Joshua was old and well advanced in years, the Lord said to him, "You are very old, and there are still very large areas of the land to be taken over. This is the land that remains, all the regions of the Philistines and Gershites from the Shihor River on the east of Egypt to the territory of Ekron on the north, all of it counted as Canaanite, the territory of the 5 Philistine rulers in Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron, that of the Avites. From the south, all the land of the Canaanites, from Arah of the Sidonians, as far as Aphek, the region of the Amorites, the area of the Gebalites, and all the Lebanon to the east, from Baal-Gad, below Mount Hermon, to Lebo Hamath. As for all the inhabitants of the mountain regions, from Lebanon to Mishroth, Maim, that is, all the Sidonians, I myself will drive them out before the Israelites. Be sure to allocate this land to Israel for an inheritance, as I have instructed you, and divide it as an inheritance among the 9 tribes and half-tribe of Manasseh. The other half of Manasseh, the Reubenites and the Gadites, had received the inheritance that Moses had given them east of the Jordan, as he, the servant of the Lord, had assigned to them. It extended from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, and from the town in the middle of the gorge, which included the whole plateau of Medeba as far as Dibon, and all the towns of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon, out to the border of the Amorites. It also included Gilead, the territory of the people of Geshur, and Makkah, all of Mount Hermon, and all of Bashan as far as Salakah, that is the whole region of Og and Bashan, who had reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei, and had survived as one of the last of the Rephites. Moses had defeated them and taken over their land, but the Israelites did not drive out the people of Geshur and Makkah, so they continue to live among the Israelites to this day. But to the tribe of Levi he gave no inheritance, since the offerings made by fire to the Lord, the God of Israel, are the inheritance as he promised them. This is what Moses had given to the tribe of Reuben, clan by clan. The territory from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, and from the town in the middle of the gorge, and the whole plateau past Medeba, to Heshbon and all its towns on the plateau, including Dibon, Balmath-Baal, Beth-Baal-Meon, Jahaz, Kedemoth, Mephalath, Kirathaim, Sibma, Zereth, Shahar on the hill valley, Beth-Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, and Beth-Jeshimosh, all the towns on the plateau, and the entire realm of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled at Heshbon. Moses had defeated him and the Midianite chiefs, Evri, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, princes allied with Sihon, who lived in that country. In addition to those slain in battle, the Israelites had put to the sword Balaam, son of Beor, who practiced divination. The whole boundary of the Reubenites was the bank of the Jordan. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Reubenites, clan by clan. This is what Moses had given to the tribe of Gad, clan by clan. The territory of Jazer, the towns of Gilead, and half the Ammonite country as far as Aroer, near Rabbah, and from Heshbon to Ramoth Mizpah, and Bethoim, and from Manahim to the territory of Debir, and in the valley, Beth-Haram, Beth-Nimrah, Succoth, and Zaphon, with the rest of the realm of Sihon, king of Heshbon, the east side of the Jordan, the territory up to the end of the Sea of Kinnereth. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Gadites, clan by clan. This is what Moses had given to the half-tribe of Manasseh, that is, to the half-family of the descendants of Manasseh, clan by clan. The territory extending from Manahim and included all of Bashan, the entire realm of Og, king of Bashan, all the settlements of Jair in Bashan, 60 towns, half of Gilead, and Ashtaroth and Edrei, the royal cities of Og in Bashan. This was for the descendants of Machir, son of Manasseh, and for half of the sons of Machir, clan by clan. This is the inheritance Moses had given when he was in the plains of Moab, across the Jordan east of Jericho. But to the tribe of Levi, Moses had given no inheritance. The Lord, the God of Israel, is their inheritance, as he promised them. So I really like that reminder. When I used to read this, I used to think, oh man, the Levites, they kind of missed out, just seeing as they didn't have any inheritance. It was just all the other tribes received land or something else. But this is a great notation right here. But to the tribe of Levi, Moses had given no inheritance. The Lord, the God of Israel, is their inheritance as he promised them. So I think it's reworking that mindset for that, looking at that not as man would look, like, oh, they're missing out on land. God is their inheritance. That's awesome. Beyond that, I thought it was interesting as well that we have that list of the victories that the Israelites had done. We had all the kings that we'd listed there. What did we say? 31 kings in all? And I thought that was really cool because it's a reminder of the victories. And that's part of my prayer for you. And it's not a new prayer that I have for you, but it is an important one, so I'm going to repeat it. Make a list of the areas that God has helped you succeed, that God has given you victory. Make an area or make a list of those areas that God has given you that, because that's what propels you into the future. I mean, I immediately thought of like those old planes, and I think it was World War II planes, I think, where people would make a list or a dash on their plane for all the kills that they got. Why? Well, it gave them confidence moving into the next battle, saying, hey, I can do this. I've done this 12 times before. I've done this 31 times before. There are at least 31 times that my God has rallied to my aid in battle. And so that's a great reminder and moves us forward in faith to say, hey, God has already provided for me in all these areas. So I don't know exactly what that provision is going to look like moving forward, but I have faith that God can do that again. And that's really, really important. We're not saying we know exactly what God's going to do, but I have faith that he can do his will and bring me through XYZ situation. So that's my prayer for you, Rayleigh, that you remember that and know that. Know that I am praying for you so much, and I love you so much. And hopefully you have stopped bleeding. Looks like you fell asleep, which is great. Anybody else know that I appreciate you so much as well. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a good one.